the results you can get are better than ever. I mean, we're seeing businesses do that for a year, but then turning it into an additional 7 figures of revenue in their business.
Thank you for joining us, Nate. Where are you calling in from?
Right now I'm in Utah, in Highland, Utah.
And you have actually 2 studios you shoot content from. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I've got a studio house right here in Utah, and then I've got another one that I'm actually traveling to tomorrow. It's in the Orlando, Florida area.
And I'm about an hour south of there. Hopefully I can get in there because I'm fresh off of finishing your book.
Yeah, Hero's Guide to Influence on YouTube.
And I thought it was fantastic. And I'm not just saying that because I had invited you on. I'll just tell you very good. I'm not trying to embarrass you. I'll tell you very quickly what I thought was amazing about it. There was absolutely no fluff. You know, the worst review a book can get. And when I wrote one, the thing that I was afraid of is that people would say, man, it could have been half as long as it was. But I'll tell you, Nate, I have not read a more concentrated, but every page had something important on it. It was logically laid out. I don't know if you wrote that 100% on your own or you worked with a professional writer, but for a first, and I assume that was your first publication, I was amazed. It made absolute sense, and you sold me on your strategy. So I'm very excited that you're here. We'll get into some topics on the book just to tease the audience. You've got a concept called the leaf strategy that I think is fantastic, treating YouTube as a search engine. And then later we'll talk about calls to action. But first, I want to find out about the book. When did you first decide I have a book in me and I've got to get this information out in the public?
Well, many years ago, actually, because I've discovered this unique strategy that no one else is teaching, no one else is following. I kind of discovered that there are 2 different paths on YouTube, and everyone seems to be following this one path, and that path works really well for an entertaining type channel, or if your goal is to turn YouTube into a business and your goal is to make ad revenue. But I found this other path, if you're a business owner and you want to leverage YouTube to generate leads, there's people that are searching for you, and it's like YouTube is the coolest search engine, and it's so easy to dominate YouTube. So I'm like, okay, I started teaching it, and that's where I built my business around, and I just started outlining the book, and years went by and nothing happened, and so I thought I got to take this seriously. So I did enlist the help of others. I actually hired 2 different ghostwriters. One helped me really well with the structure. The other one was a better writer, and I wish I would have known that about the first one. But it took 2 years, and we put so much work and energy. I wanted to make sure that the book was true to me and true to my voice, and I love the way that it turned out. It's I've gotten a lot of good feedback too, same as what you're saying. So
I was blown away, and I would say, Nate, I'm pretty sure that was probably the 5th book that I had read on the topic, and it's the only one that I thought he's talking to me. And he's talking to realtors and real estate investors, and the other stuff. There's great material out there. Not to naysay any of the other books and their strategies that are very good. And there were some commonalities, and we'll get into that too, where there's similarities between your books and some of the others, because there's wisdom that just goes across all of those different types. But like I said, for the business professional, I was like, okay, I'm his audience. This is great, because I could see immediately that it makes a lot of sense. So if you don't mind, can you start us off with the leaf strategy?
Yeah. Well, to understand the leaf strategy, let me teach you my tree analogy. It's really simple. So a tree has a broad trunk that goes out to the branches that eventually gets to the leaves. And the trunk represents your core area of expertise. So what are you an expert at or on? And that's the trunk. Well, then if you think all the different ways you could categorize your expertise, that would be the branches. Well, the leaves represent very, very specific questions that people are asking. And so the moral of this story or this analogy is you don't want to make videos on trunk topics or branch topics. You want to go all the way out to the leaves. And if you make videos on these specific questions that your target audience is asking, your videos will rank at the top of YouTube for that. So obviously there's a lot more detail that we can go into, but that simple analogy, once I started teaching it that way, people were able to remember and I just got to go for the leaves. So, it really just starts with keyword research, and keyword research in the past is really challenging. It's really complicated, and it takes a lot of time and it's a lot of work. What we're talking about on YouTube, we can just forget all that complicated hard stuff because you don't need to create link wills or blog comments or article marketing or do anything else. You do the SEO first before you film a video, and that means find the questions that your target audience is asking. So there's tools that can help you do this, and you just type in your topic, your trunk, or a branch, and turn on the questions, and you'll get a list of questions that have consistent search volume every single month. And so I like to say start with the low-hanging fruit, or with my analogy, start with the low-hanging leaves. The leaves that have higher search volume, save those for later. We want to rank on the top of YouTube for those, but if you go for the low-hanging leaves, even if it only has 10 searches a month, that's actually gold, because here's what's going to happen. One, you're going to rank at the top of YouTube probably in a single day. So your video's sitting there on the top of YouTube. 10 people are going to do that search. They're going to ask that very specific question. They're going to find your video, and they're going to think, oh, wow, that's exactly what I was searching for. So they watch your video all the way to the end. Now, two things happen. One, they're impressed. They have a relationship with you, and we can talk more about the lead generation part, but now they're likely to become a lead in your business. But two, the YouTube algorithm is watching this interaction and saying, oh, this person found this video through search and they watched it all the way to the end, so they liked it. Now we have an idea of who the target audience is for this video. So it works really, really well. You go after those easy to rank for, but yet highly valuable phrases, because they, even with a small handful of views, with this type of approach, you can start to generate leads. So that's a good introduction to the leaf strategy.
You were doing web pages and CE and SEO, which informed this booming YouTube career that you have going. Can you talk to us about that story, going from web pages and SEO to YouTube?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it'll be a helpful story because it will kind of illustrate how great the opportunity is today on YouTube. So I've had my company 15 years, and for the first about 4 years, I did web design and search engine optimization for websites. And so we got our clients' websites ranked on the top of Google. And the service worked. We did a whole lot of things. We did blog commenting, article marketing, things called link wheels, and you just create all this spam out on the internet. I didn't call it spam back then, but it really was. You just created sites that you never intended people to visit, but it all linked back to your main website. And that was so that the Google algorithms, the Google search engine, would see your website as having authority, because all these other sites that you create were, well, we also did a lot of things to the page. We would put a video on the web page, we'd put content, we'd put infographics, we'd put in the keywords the right way. Well, one day I noticed that one of these pages, I was looking at the data, but I noticed that the YouTube video alone over on YouTube was getting 50 times more views than this page that we had ranking number one on Google. And it surprised me. And I had to now, is this right? And so I checked other examples, and I found several examples of this. All this work and effort we were doing to get this website ranked at the top of the search engine Google, and yet YouTube, it was getting more view 50 times. And so I follow results. I pivoted my business. It, took a year or two to fully make that transition. But, today I produce over 60 different YouTube channels that follow this strategy. And there's many places where you go to YouTube right now, you type in a search, and we dominate. Our channels and our videos are ranking at the top. One interesting side note, I will actually declare that SEO has changed, even website SEO. I would say website SEO does not exist, and here's why. Google used to be a website search engine. It's a content search engine today. It's a content search engine. When I now put a video on YouTube and it ranks at the top of YouTube, guess where we also get traffic from? We're getting traffic from Google. Tens of thousands of views, so Google and YouTube are both content search engines, and all you have to do now, instead of all the crazy complicated stuff, you just got to create the content that people are searching for.
And of course, in the book, you talk about the formula of the frequency of shooting the videos. And I don't want to spoil it because there's some great stuff coming. We'll talk about the adequate and the best number of times to post per week. Also, the length of the video. I mean, you go into great detail in that book. If somebody's even thinking about getting a YouTube channel, or if you have one, you got to get the book. And we'll talk about how they can get it. I did get the audio version of it, and of course, I feel compelled. Like I'd like to have the paper version too. You know, when I really like something, I want both. I don't know. Are you the same way? Like I've got to have the paper copy of the audio book is
Well, yeah,
solid.
I love Audible, and so I've been an Audible subscriber for a long time. But yeah, when there's a book that I really like and I want to sink my teeth into more, then I'll order the physical copy.
And I'm very grateful, Nate. Our the audience that I have is very savvy. They've asked some really great questions, but I will say, just for the people that are a little bit new to YouTube and they're thinking about creating a channel, what we're talking about here is organic growth versus a lot of other methods. As a matter of fact, in the book, you talked about you really don't want to buy ads and direct them towards your YouTube channel because it'll throw things off. Has that changed, or is that still solid?
Yeah, it's still very solid. Now, there's a place for advertising. I would say the majority of my clients who do advertising, Facebook seems to be the place where they're getting the most results, or at least it's the most affordable. But they'll also use YouTube, they'll also use LinkedIn. The advantages of paid advertising are that you can get quicker returns, you can scale it quickly. But what I love most is that you can test and tweak and iterate your landing pages, your offers, your messaging, your videos, your pricing. You can test all those things. And many of my clients that will come in, and if they've done those things, they have a working funnel. They're generating revenue. They're profitable. If we start to implement this lead strategy on YouTube, they'll then start to generate a much higher quality lead than they get from their paid ads. So many of my clients have phased out their paid campaign once their organic campaign really picked up, and it typically takes several months to do that, 3, 4, 5 months to do that. But the quality of leads that you get from what we're talking about here on YouTube, it's more like a referral quality because they're not interrupted like you are with an ad. They don't feel like they have to put up their defenses, or they're not annoyed. This is something that they've sought for. You've given them value. It's been a relationship building. They just have spent time with you. And by the time you have a conversation with them, they already know that they want to work with you. They just want to know, okay, what do you offer? What does it cost? So yeah, it's a really fun comparison.
And that taps into your website, betheherostudios.com, because Be the Hero, that's what you're talking about, being that person that solves problems, because that's what we do as entrepreneurs. We're expert problem solvers. And the better you can establish, and I'm telling you, but I'm just acknowledging that I understand in the book that as you establish yourself as an expert in that field, people are seeking that sage advice, and they'll find it in your library of videos. The other thing that I thought the book did very well is you were very realistic about the timeline, how long it will take somebody. You talk about where they should be at 6 months, where they should be at a year or two. And it was interesting, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, about what they can do potentially at year two, depending on how they're structured. But one thing that I wanted to go into is that in the book, you also talk about that this strategy is relatively immune to the algorithm, which I can't tell you, Nate, how many times the algorithm gets discussed on this channel, because we've had people on that were getting $10,000 worth of leads a month, and then just one morning they woke up and they're getting 2,000, or somebody's business just evaporates, and we're all scratching our heads trying to figure out what's going on, because I've called it in the past we're in a black box economy, because we don't know what's happening inside of this box. If I had a pizza joint and the road was messed up and they had to block it off, well, I would know I wasn't going to get a lot of customers. Or if it rained really heavy, I knew I was going to sell less pizzas. But now you're sitting there and you're waiting for people to come in, and they're not, and you don't know why. So I think your strategy, providing those more solid, reliable results, makes a lot more sense than someone out there chasing the algorithm.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot more relaxing. Or I should say, just less stressful. The reason that it is so much more steady is we're not making content that we hope will go viral. A lot of YouTube strategies in the entertainment side of things, that's what they have to focus on, and they're chasing the trends. They're trying to get their videos to go viral. But also, when we're talking about the algorithm, they're trying to appease the algorithm or even find loopholes and find ways to get a boost. I don't pay attention to loopholes or anything like that. I'm genuinely trying to find what are people searching for? What do they need to know? What challenges are they facing? And I'm making content for them. And so the only way that I've been impacted by an algorithm change is YouTube and Google have made their search engines better. And therefore, the we used to not get as much traffic from Google, but as Google's search engine has changed, I'm sure a lot of website SEO services have been frustrated by that, but it's really helped because we've just made this content that people really are searching for and valuing, and so now Google is showing it. So yeah, it's steady. I mean, we'll see we'll see a dip around Christmas time every year. We do, but it's not anything drastic. We really just see month after month, year after year, it's a snowball effect where the momentum is building because as we create more and more content, the content that we created several years ago, that's still getting search traffic. And so the more videos we create, the more results we get.
For business owners out there, even you under your roof, a lot of this can be outsourced. So if somebody doesn't want to be the face of their own company, they don't necessarily have to. But your book does talk about instead of having a corporate presence on YouTube, having that personal presence. And your channel is a great example of that. So I'll pivot away from the book and towards your channel for a moment. You're very sincere in your videos. I get this impression that if you had your garage open and you had a pool table, you'd invite me in and we'd play a game. I mean, there's just this warmth to your videos. And that's how I found out about you. I don't know what caused me to bump into one of your videos. And I thought, oh, yeah, they're very relatable. I like this guy. I know he's being honest. And it was like we were having a conversation. Then when I bought your book, you explained that that's by design. And I thought, this guy is, this is brilliant. But I also wanted to talk about something that may have changed since you wrote the book, because in the book you suggest posting, at least for the first 1 to 2 years, 5 videos a week. So can you walk us through, is that still the same or has there been some advancements in that?
So the results that you can get from an aggressive strategy like that, posting 5 episodes a week, the results you can get are better than ever. I mean, we're seeing businesses do that for a year, but then turning it into an additional 7 figures of revenue in their business. But what's changed, everything that's in the book is still totally solid, but I've figured out some additional things just even in the last year. And the result of that is how you can do the same strategy, but just launching 1 episode a week and still get results. So what that does is it opens the doors for businesses that are in earlier stages, maybe businesses that aren't quite ready to go 5 episodes a week. They don't have their funnels fine-tuned that much. Maybe they're still in the early stages or the early 6-figure stages or whatnot. If we think about the tree analogy, the only thing that I started doing differently, and I guess I'll take a step back and explain why, because I have several clients in the real estate investing space and also in the parenting space, oddly enough. So drastically different, but we'll just use the real estate example. So because I had several clients in the real estate space and that I had been producing their channels for years, as I was doing keyword research with them and finding questions, I realized, okay, well, we don't need to have them competing against each other. How can we differentiate? So I started comparing different branches on this tree of real estate to each other. I did this with one of my clients, Noelle Randall, and I'll even tell you specifically, there was one branch that if you type in the words real estate investor find, so that's like the trunk of the tree might be real estate, the first branch is investor, then that branches into a couple things, find, or the other branch would be become. So I was comparing the find branch and the become branch, how to become a real estate investor or how to find a real estate investor. And I found all these different questions on both those branches. I showed those to Noelle Randall, and she looked at the find branch and she said, this is interesting. I've filmed a few of these videos, but now that I see them grouped this way, I realize this is not my target audience. So I don't want to focus on this branch anymore. But the become branch was something that was totally new to her. She says, I want to rank on the top of YouTube for every single one of these questions. There was about 30. And so then we checked, okay, because I've been working with her for a few years at this point. So we typed in every one of these questions into YouTube and just checked, is she ranking at the top? Do we have to scroll down and find her? On this new branch that we found, there were two of them, two of the questions that she was ranking at the top, but the rest were majority no. She just didn't show up. So we started filming a lot of these questions on that branch, and we kept tracking it. We went from 2 yeses to 8 a month later. I don't remember the number, but even more the next month, and even like by 4 months, she was totally dominating this branch. So let me go back to your question about the differences and about one episode per week. Because we have that approach now of looking at a branch, we now can take a look at what are your goals over this next year. If we look at your topic tree and all these questions, how many branches do you want to dominate this next year? And a business might say, well, I see 10 branches here that I totally want to dominate. Well, you know what? You're going to have to launch 5, maybe even 7 episodes a week to do that in 1 year. But if there's one branch and you think, you know what? If I can dominate that one branch, that's going to be a world of difference for my business. Then start launching 1 episode a week. There's 52 weeks in a year. And so it's very realistic to fully dominate that branch, have it become a lead generation machine for your business.
That's fantastic. And I believe it. Like I said in the book, the way that you lay it out, it seemed I was like, this is not pie in the sky promises. This is get rich slow. It's not get rich quick. It's logical. You're building this foundation of content. And the way it was explained is just a really good. I'm hoping you write another book. Because I've run Audible dry on business books. I mean, somebody has to, hopefully they'll put one up tomorrow because I've pretty much everything that's out there. But that's germane to my channel. It's the free time mastermind. It's incumbent upon me to know what's going on out there. But I really, really enjoyed the book, and I hope people will get a copy of it. One thing that when I was reading it, I was listening to it and I was walking and I almost fell over because it was a mistake that you said not to do. And I had done it. You said, don't change the titles. And we went through, and this, I don't know if this was wise or not, but at one point we went back and we changed all the thumbnails because when I first started, I was doing them. And believe me, that's not something I should be doing. So we went back and we redressed everything and made them all kind of look cohesive and professional. But then a few weeks later, after reading Donald Miller's Build a Story Brand 2.0, which is another fantastic book, I went back and changed a lot of the old titles because I didn't, and they, especially the poor performers. But you suggest not to do that, and it made a whole lot of sense. Can you explain your rationale behind that?
Well, sure. And admittedly, if the video is a poor performer, then it's okay to meddle with it or try and see, is there a better title we can give it? But what's interesting is if you have a video that is doing well, the algorithm has basically learned some things about this video, about the audience for that video. And so if you change just one character in the title or the description, that resets it for the algorithm, and so it'll stop. And I knew this, but I actually made this mistake a couple of years ago. I had a video that was doing really, really well, much better than normal, and I was kind of excited about it. Well, I happened to notice in the description something really minor, but I had misspelled a word. That's it. I'm not changing anything substantial, but I went in and I changed a single letter, and I hit save, and the views on the video just stopped. And I was a bit stressed because me and a client that we produce this channel together, he was pretty excited about it. And I had made that change around 10 p.m. I remember where I was. I was on vacation in Dana Point, California. So 10 p.m., I'm like, what did I do? And I couldn't sleep. I was just awake, like stressing about this thing. By about 3 a.m., I had this idea. What if I just changed the misspelling back? So I remembered the letter and whatever. So I went into the description, I changed it back, I hit save, and the views came back. So I was able to fall asleep. So
That is the oddest. Yeah, when I read that, I thought, my gosh, and who knows what's set up in the software back there to make it do that. And it's funny that you mentioned Dana Point because I have a friend of mine that he had a house there. It's one of his favorite parts. I got to get there because the name of that location keeps coming up, so it must really be spectacular.
yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Is it just the views? Because it seemed like it was a view type place where it's got a great ocean view. Is that the
Well,
main
so
draw?
my wife grew up next to there in a place called Rancho Santa Margarita, and um, so there was several beaches, along the California Orange County. But that one, just the town is good, the seafood is great. There's a big harbor with lots of sailboats and yachts, cliffs that overlook it. There's an area where there's a beach for even little kids that they don't get waves. So there's just a variety of stuff. It's a beautiful, fun place to vacation.
Whether you have a business or want to start one, you need ideas. Pick up our book, Scintilla, the ultimate guide to generating business ideas, products, and services. Available on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and now as an audiobook. After buying the book, go to www.freetimemastermind.com, click Other, and type Book Bonus Material to get access to the book's vault of extra information, as well as access to a private Facebook group for book owners. Find the link to the book in the description. In your book, you were suggesting, obviously, doing 5 pieces of content a week. We'll talk about length in just a little bit. But one brilliant thing that you said is hey, you can just pick a day. If 5 videos seems like it's intense, well, just do all your research and pick a day and shoot on one day. You don't have to,
Mhm.
get off of work and shoot that content. And I thought that was a great idea that you presumably have people come to the studio and maybe spend a day or two and they shoot a whole month's worth of content. Is that's what's happening in the studio in Orlando?
Yeah, so when we found we were getting such great results with high volume content, 5 episodes a week, and every one of my clients is a busy business owner. They have busy personal life, family life, social, and of course business. And so, how do we become a daily YouTuber with that busy of a life? And so, I experimented with different quantities. We would do a half day, and we could get 10 episodes filmed. We did a day into the night where we filmed 37 episodes in a single day. But really, we quickly honed in on 20 episodes. If you start at 9 in the morning, make sure you take a lunch break, finish by 5 p.m. You can film a solid 20 episodes in that time frame. So I've been filming at that quantity. It's just been the perfect amount because that means you only have to have one filming day every 4 weeks. So if we rewind several years ago, I would film with businesses at their location or at their homes, and then I started having people travel to Utah so that I could film with them. So what I would do is I would rent an Airbnb. I just wanted a place that had character, that would be quiet and could be our filming studio for the day. And then, in more recent years, I've purchased my filming houses. I call them studio houses. So I've got one in Utah and the one in Florida. The reason that I don't use a commercial space is we're not wanting to look corporate. We're building a relationship first before they learn about our business and before our offerings. So when people go to Google or YouTube and they type in a question, they're in a what's in it for me mindset. They just are looking for an answer. They don't want to be sold to. They're not looking for a business. So we typically recommend your YouTube channel has a personal name, not sounding like a business, and that you don't start up the video talking about, hey, this is me from such and such company. But if they're watching a video and there's a fireplace behind you, or a kitchen, right? It's sharp, it looks beautiful, the focus is on you, but people feel like they've been invited into your home. Talking specifically about the Florida house, the east wall of that house has got a lot of windows and it kind of surrounds this pool area, and there's palm trees. And normally when you film and you've got windows behind you, the outdoor light, even if it's a cloudy day, it's way bright and it totally washes things out. The way to compete with that is you could blast yourself with a whole bunch of lights and blind yourself. So if you're filming all day long, that just doesn't work. But what we did is we added window tinting to all of these windows. So now, and it blocks out like 80% of the light. You don't really notice it unless you open the door, the window, the sliding glass door, and you're like, oh, wow, yeah, it was blocking a lot of light. But now we can film and have whatever scene behind us, including the pool. And so you can see the blue of the water and the green of the trees and everything is. So anyway, we love to build that relationship first, to film in a place that's fun, that, creates curiosity, but ultimately builds a relationship, like you were invited into their home.
You also in the book talked about not just the five to seven potentially videos a week. You also talked about length, and that was the part that blew me away because believe me, I know I'm not going to unseat Joe Rogan, but I'm a long format uh, interviewer. So our episodes usually run anywhere from 40 minutes to sometimes 60 minutes. But you blew me away when you said the length, but it made sense. Can you talk us through what you're suggesting people on the individual video lengths?
Yeah, so I recommend, and we found the sweet spot is about 10 to 12 minutes per episode. And it's interesting that you find that as kind of being short, since you're used to the longer form, I mean super long form. A lot of people are actually the opposite because of TikTok, because of YouTube Shorts, and they're convinced that people's attention spans have gotten shorter. And in many scenarios, they have, right? Uh, like Instagram or whatnot, you're used to consuming content in a certain way. YouTube, though, the environment there is trending longer and longer. If you look at a channel like Mr. Beast, the biggest channel on YouTube, if you compare the average length of his episodes today to 3 years ago, they're about double. And I've seen that on many channels, that content has been trending longer and longer. And so people say, well, what about shorts? Well, when YouTube separated their content into two types, shorts and videos, that's when videos started to trend longer. So, if you have a short campaign or a campaign that's working with shorts or TikTok, keep doing what's working. But what we've found is that this strategy, when people are asking questions, if you make a video that's about 10 to 12 minutes long, and that would be your average. So if some videos are less than that, maybe 7 or 8 minutes, other videos maybe 15 minutes, you just want to give a real high quality answer, a real valuable answer to that question. And the more time people spend with you, the better, right? So you just want to give them a lot of value, and if they spend a lot of time with you, they start to feel like they know you, and it works really, really well. If you were to consider making a 40-minute episode, just because of the results that we're getting, I would typically recommend, well, let's see if we can take that 40 minutes worth of content and maybe split that into a few episodes, so you can cover, really, you'll be able to title them each differently based on the keyword research that you do, and have 3 different places that video is ranking at the top on YouTube. So in my mind, it's like you're going to get 3 times as many views.
I'm sure you've had content creators work with you that do have an interview style. Is that what you're suggesting to them? Make sure those questions are asked and answered inside of those interviews?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to take all that time to film long content like that, or record it in any way, if you can be strategic about it, that's usually what's missing, is the strategy. And so people will make amazing, really valuable content, but it doesn't have a strategy for getting views. If you think about any movie or show that Hollywood produces, they do so much advertising, from the interviews, from the billboards, from teasers and trailers. Well, with YouTube, yeah, you could do all that, I guess. You could try and advertise. I don't know a successful way of doing it, but I do know how to make sure that the video that you create already has an audience built into it. So if you're to take an interview format like that, but the questions that you're asking are based on that research that you've done and the questions that your target audience is asking, then you could break that up and turn that into this searchable type content. I want to actually mention something, because if you think about it, an interview is amazing. It's valuable content, but you're not sharing your own expertise. So a lot of times the disadvantage that you have if the channel or the show that you're creating, if it's an interview style, is your people are building awareness with you and they're building a relationship with you, but you're also promoting a lot of other people. So if you do keyword research and you look at this list of questions that you have expertise in, instead of what expertise do my clients have, or my guests, I should say, but if these are all questions that you have expertise in, then you're bringing in people who are actually searching for you, and they're most likely interested in what you offer, what your business offers.
When you're looking for clients, you're looking for people that that best fit with you are the people that are in that 6 to 7 figure range. That's where they can benefit most for those services. But you've got a range of offerings. Obviously, somebody can pick up the book. And can you walk us through kind of the buffet of services that you offer and who those might fit with?
Well, sure. So the strategy is a great fit for businesses in a lot of different stages. If you're new in business, I would focus on just one episode a week. If you've got momentum, you've started to generate more and more consistent revenue, then there's definitely reasons to look at, well, how aggressive do we want to be? If you were to start with 5 episodes a week and realize that that's a little bit too much, you can't keep up with that, and then you slow down, it would have been better to start slower. YouTube, the algorithm will see that as, this channel is slowing down. So it's okay to start gradually. If you're in a place where you really want to learn DIY, I have put everything I possibly could into the book. And in fact, one of the plaques that's behind me, 5 of those plaques are from clients that I filmed and produced their channels, but one of them is from somebody who read my book and he just started implementing it, and he was a student. He then attended a mastermind of mine, and he says, yeah, we actually, and I'm the number was somewhere around, we made $90,000 in the last month just from your strategy. He reported at the end of the year, yep, we crossed 7 figures just from your strategy, and they crossed 100,000 subscribers. So they got the plaque and they wanted to share one with me. So, I produce channels, many of them. We film, do full day of filming, 20 episodes in a day, and we'll launch 1 episode a week. So that's a 20-week campaign from one day of filming. We do all the editing, the thumbnail design. You just are the expert. You're the star of the show, and we provide you coaching, and we do the keyword research to help you. And then we have other clients that will come and film with us every 4 weeks, whether in Utah or in Florida.
And you suggested too in that 20 schedule. I mean, obviously a year is 52 weeks, so 20 weeks. You're not far away from that half a year of content at a time, which is fantastic. But I wanted to know too. Obviously, you've had a lot of success stories, like you just said, with the guy, and he really bootstrapped it. I mean, he read the book, went to a mastermind, so that was he almost did it 100% DIY if he hadn't gone to the mastermind. But still, and the mastermind, was that a weekend? Was it a 1 day?
Yeah, it was just a 2-day mastermind where we just shared ideas and looked at each other's, kind of helped each other out. So there wasn't any official. I guess there was a little bit of training, but it was mostly just diving into each other's channels and analytics and reviewing and giving each other feedback.
And I'm sure you've got big plans for the rest of 2025, and I'm sure you've got stuff on the board for 2026. What about a follow-up book? Because you teased near the end of the book that you're going to go more into calls to action and things like that. So what can we look forward to in the future?
Book 2 is well in the works. I'm hoping this summer. To have that second book published. Yeah.
One thing you mentioned in the book that seems consistent amongst all the people talking about YouTube, and it breaks my heart a little bit, but I understand because we're visual by nature. They've got to put time, money, and effort into that thumbnail. Can you talk us through some of the important details, important aspects that the thumbnail requires?
Yeah, so if you just upload a video to YouTube will just grab a still somewhere from the video, and chances are it's not the most compelling, it's not the most exciting moment. You never know, you're probably just making a funny face. And because people have gotten better and better at designing their own custom thumbnail, because when you upload a video, you can then upload that thumbnail. people have gotten really good at that, and now that's the marketing piece. That's how you market your video and convince people to click on it. So the leaf strategy will get your videos to show up, right? But they're showing up alongside others, and if others look more interesting, then they'll get the clicks. So the first step is just to be creative and create something that you think will make people want to click on it, that will create that curiosity. YouTube will tell you how it performs. And so you'll be able to learn just from experience as if you upload a few videos and you see, oh, my click-through rate, that's what it's called. If you have 100 impressions and you got 5 clicks, that's a 5% click-through rate. 5% is kind of average, 5 or 6%. If you have a thumbnail that's got a 10% click-through rate, you're an amazing thumbnail designer. Like we love it when we have thumbnails that do that. If it's 2%, don't stress about it. Just think, okay, that one didn't do so well. What can I change? What can I try differently? Now here's what's exciting. In 2024, YouTube finally launched a tool that they've been promising us since 2018, I believe. You can upload 2 or 3 thumbnails at the same time, and YouTube will test them back and forth and let you know which one is the best performer. So some rules of thumb is you want, for this type of content, it's great to have a picture of yourself on the thumbnail. You don't have to do extreme emotions. You don't have to make the most crazy face. Exactly. But if you show a little bit of emotion, like our brains know, I mean, just with the subtle change to your eyebrow or your anything, you're raising your cheekbones, I don't know. We know what emotion that is. And so just play with different emotions, put that emotion in there, be close enough to the camera that you can see the whites of your eyes. Thumbnails will do pretty well. And then another tip that I can give, since we've done the keyword research and we found these really long questions, that's the title. We don't need to repeat the title in the thumbnail. The title and the thumbnail and this title are always shown together. And so you can use different words on the thumbnail and just use, 2, 3, 4 words. Something like, doctors never tell you this. Something that will you can be more creative. You can be, so Mr. Beast, when he creates a title, he's going to make that sensational. And but if we're finding questions, our titles aren't going to be as sensational, but we can put that fun into the thumbnail itself, and create that curiosity.
As a business owner yourself, where would you value obtaining fresh email leads?
Yeah, so email is by far and away the most valuable resource a business can have in terms of, when the market changes or anything changes, platforms change, but yet you can still have stability in your business. Let me explain what I feel the difference between marketing and nurturing is. A lot of people are nurturing thinking that they're marketing. They might say, I'm doing a lot on social media. I've got a social media marketing manager. We post regular content on several different platforms. But are they really marketing? Here's the simple question. Like, is your content being seen by your friends, by your connections, by your subscribers? Or is your content being seen by people who have never heard of you before? So it's only marketing if it's being seen by people who've never heard of you before. Usually, let's say you do a Facebook post, you post something and maybe 10% of your friends will see it, right? What about new people? It's only seen by new people if it's shared, right? So then it kind of goes viral. And when you get new views that way, it's typically not your target audience. So if you think about it in terms of creating this searchable content on YouTube, you're making it for people who've never heard of you before, and they're your target audience. So it's a really custom way to truly market your content.
How can people get a copy of the book, by the way?
Yeah, I actually offer a free plus shipping version of the book. It's the full book. It's the paperback version. If you go to natesyoutubebook.com, that's my gift to you. You just pay the printing and the shipping cost. So it comes out to like $12 or something like that. And the reason that I would recommend the book is you really need to learn how to find these questions. The questions that perform the best are typically like 8-word questions, 9-word questions, 10-word questions. And that's a lot of words, and we can't make them up. That's not going to help us. But I teach you in the book how to find these questions, and there's thousands of them, thousands that are your target audience. And so you'll learn how to basically find the right questions that become the topics of your videos that you post on YouTube and become lead generators.
I appreciate that, Nate. And for the people that want to connect with you, utilize your studio, use some of the higher tier services, is the best way for them to connect with you your primary website, which is betheherostudios.com, or do you want them to go to a different website?
Yeah, betheherostudios.com is a great place. I also do a weekly webinar. It's theleafstrategy.com. And I'll give you that link for the book one more time. It's Nate's, Nates, NatesYouTubeBook.com. I love that you've read the book and you knew the value of the leaf strategy, and so you really asked some good questions. So nice job.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't do well with compliments as much as I should, but I really appreciate it. And, I have to give credit where credit's due. I've got a great team. Javon makes me look like a rock star with the editing, and Caroline doing the booking. She does the thumbnails. She's doing a great job. So, and hopefully I can help nurture her as a host as well. And I really enjoy this, and I've enjoyed my time with you. Any questions for me before I go?
No, this is great. What would you like your listeners to do?
Well, I want them to get a copy of your book, first of all. That's a number one. And I want the people that don't have a YouTube channel, I want them to start just the freedom and the power of having a platform, whether you want to talk about politics or economics. I think people should just get started. Don't worry about how you look. People can go back and look at my first couple and they'll see the evolution, and continue to educate themselves with great books like yours.
I love that. I put the word influence, big bold, in the title of my book. What we've been talking about is it's an amazing way to really build momentum in our business, and it's in a way that really makes a big impact in the world. Like when I say we're going to dominate YouTube, it's in like domination maybe isn't the most positive word, but I mean it in the most positive way, because you take your expertise and your expertise is known by your family, your friends, your maybe a small community of raving fan clients. But when you start putting this expertise out on YouTube and you start ranking at the top, you change from an expert to a true thought leader. You mentioned the word hero that I use a lot. Like, people see you as the hero, and I've it's fun to be a part of the journey of many of these channels that I produce, because these amazing people are now major influencers. Not influencer in the way of like they're a celebrity, but like they're just seen as like this powerhouse of a person. They're the dominant person in their industry. So I do encourage people, if that is something that you want to do, I encourage you to really give the Leaf strategy a try.
And that's legacy. All of those channels, like for people that remember Mr. Holland's opus, that's your opus, Nate. That's your legacy, all of these YouTubers out there. So thank you so much for your time.
Very welcome.
The Free Time Mastermind Group now offers special videos available only to Mastermind Insiders. Go to www.freetimemastermind.com, click Other, and type YouTube Insider to get free access. Also, click like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this video. Thank you for watching the Free Time Mastermind Podcast.